Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joe's Simple Life Show. Welcome to another show. I'm sorry I haven't been away. Was sick for the last few days, so I'm really kind of getting back into it. I'm still kind of weak, but I did want to talk about a couple subjects today. The first subject we're going to be talking about is vaping. If you've been aware, I think most people have been aware over the last couple weeks, couple months or so. Several young people have been dying supposedly because of vaping. And the finger is being pointed directly and squarely in the arena of e-cigarettes that are used for nicotine vaping. And I really wanted to talk about this because there's a lot of confusion about what is really happening here and who's really to blame and what's really going on. And I wanted to make this as simple as possible. I guess we can really start off by saying that Trump, I voted for him. I still support him. However, I think there's a knee-jerk reaction going on here when it comes to a lot of these deaths that are occurring. We really need to get to the heart of the matter and try to figure out as a nation what is causing this. And I think I have a good idea. I don't think it takes a lot of research to understand what is causing this. It all originated, and this was years ago. I've been talking about dank vapes, D-A-N-K vapes, for a while, especially on social media. And a lot of the people that I know on social media have been aware of this issue for a long time, and it all centers around just cheap knockoffs. Anytime that you have legalization in any type of industry, then it's gonna be expensive when it first starts out, and no one can really deny that the cannabis industry is really expensive, not only to get into but also to take part in and to use legally in the states where it is legal. I lived in Colorado. I currently live in Ohio. I use cannabis daily because I have a lot of pain issues. However, I just really never got into the concentrates. I know it's a really popular thing, and it's I guess people think it's a cleaner way to consume cannabis, and now we're, in a lot of ways, I guess it is. However, and a lot of this, what's going on right now is getting a lot of people scared. And what I want to do is make a video right now to tell you to calm down. There's no reason to get upset about this and start throwing everything out, throwing the baby out with the bathwater and everything else. It seems like that happens every single time there are unexplained deaths. And I think we have a good idea what's going on here. Now, first, obviously, Trump has proposed a ban on vaping flavors that is directly targeting the e-cigarette or the nicotine vaping industry. So the people that are out there, they either own shops online or they own shops, brick and mortar shops. They're obviously freaking out right now because they have to, most of these shops, at least I would hope the majority of them, if not all of them, are under ISO regulations. They are under government regulations. And to clear up, anything that's inhaled or anything that's, a vape type substance is not going to be regulated under the Food and Drug Administration because it's not a food. You don't eat it, you inhale it. And this is something that's misunderstood. There's a lot of videos going around with, these unfortunate teenagers who are getting caught up in this, and they buy these cheap knockoff cannabis, which they shouldn't be using if they're living in an illegal state. Of course, most states are going legal. However, like I said, whenever there is a legal regulated market such as cannabis or anything else, it's going to be expensive when it first starts out. Hopefully it'll get a lot cheaper as it goes forward, but what I always recommend is if you live in a legal state where you can grow cannabis and you need cannabis, grow it yourself if you can. Don't rely on the government to do everything for you. Just go out there and plant a seed. Grow it. You want to make concentrates? Make your own concentrates. Don't rely on anything. I would recommend not using concentrates because I always advocate for the all-natural, whole plant type of consumption. And if you are going to use it, there's a lot of safe ways you can do it, but that's not the point of this. The point of this is that there is a lot of companies out there. The first one, the main one, is Dank Vapes. They've been around for a while. I've heard of them for probably the last few years. If you look at some of these things, some of their packaging, you can see that it's really geared towards, kids. It's really geared towards a younger crowd. The young people they like this because it's concealable. You don't have to light it up. You can use it in the bathroom and all kinds of stuff. I used to do it all the time. When I was a kid, I didn't use this kind of stuff and I didn't vape, but there was all kinds of different ways that we could get away with certain things, and now it's just becoming a lot easier. However, these the dank vapes and a lot of these other ones, Chronic, and a lot of these other companies, what they're really doing is they're just selling the boxes and the empty cartridges, and they're selling you these things on eBay. Actually, I was just on eBay. Let me just go to my desktop here. I was on eBay not too long ago here. You can buy these things, $19.98. Look, I'm not exactly sure how many you get. You get 100 cartridges, and you get these hologram boxes. It was very similar to what we just saw. $20, right? You can get all this stuff, and you can put your own stuff in here. Now, what the problem is, if you were actually using regular concentrate that went through ISO standards and everything, then you probably wouldn't have a problem, right? Even though you're already breaking the law because you're not selling it under government regulations. I think everything should be legal, but this is a main problem where there should be regulations, and I'm sorry, there really should be when it comes to this, because people can get hurt when people are circumventing safety regulations and just putting out anything that they want to. There's been a lot of tests and studies that have been done on these types of things. Here we see the vape company fails pesticide test, and it issues its first product recall in legal market. Now, this was back in 2018. This has been going on for a while. Okay, this isn't just vitamin E acetate, which a lot of these knockoff cartridges were tested positive for, which is a food grade additive, but it's a food. It's not. It was never meant to be inhaled. It was never meant to be heated and vaporized. And there's a lot of byproducts that can cause a lot of problems. And this is just another example of that, where the main ingredient, a lot of the main ingredients and a lot of the stuff that's actually used to cut the distillate down, one of them, I believe it's called Honeycut. I might have a example of what that looks like here. Maybe not. Here it is. Honeycut. What this is a thickening agent. Okay, it's a diluting and a thickener. And everybody, the people who buy the cartridges, especially on the black market, they have to test to see whether it's actually legitimate, good distillate. And a lot of times what they'll use is a bubble test. And what they'll do is they'll take the cartridge, they'll turn it upside down, and if the bubble actually flows freely up, then in less time, or if it just flows up almost like a bubble out of like a bottle of soda or something like that, they'll know that it's too diluted, and it's usually not good quality product. It's not really a good distillate. So what a lot of these companies will use, they'll use these thickening agents, which are primarily vitamin E acetate, which is something that is used in a lot of beauty products and stuff like that. And what that'll do is it will thicken it up. Now, they're still using this stuff. It's still being used, and it's still used in these types of black market, dank vapes, chronic type of things that are being sold out there. So this is something to look out for. Obviously, I would not recommend buying these products because they're dangerous. They're absolutely dangerous. They not only have vitamin E acetate, which is directly tied to lung disease, but it also has fungicide, which is also when heated, it produces hydrogen cyanide. Which was something that was used back in World War II to execute Jews in Nazi death camps. So this is like I said, this is something that I think a lot of people really need to understand, because it is something that is misunderstood that's going on right now with a lot of these things. Now, Myron Roney, the CEO of Bel Costa Labs, the cannabis testing lab in California, tells Inverse that they often see black market products that contain unsafe levels of misobutanol, I believe it's this fungicide. And when misobutanol is heated, it releases toxic fumes, one of which is hydrogen cyanide. Small amounts of HSN are released when smoking cigarettes, but larger doses are lethal. As I mentioned, HSN was a major component of the gas that was used in the Nazi gas chambers. So I think that we are having an issue here, like I said, with the whole Trump thing, him taking issue with the e-cigarettes and not really getting to the point of what is the main problem here. And we can see that this knee-jerk reaction here. And we'll just watch a clip here real quick.
And as I understand it, as we've been on the air, Trump said there's a really big problem here, and then his Secretary of HHS, Mr. Azar, said we're going to move to ban them.
That's right. He said that the Food and Drug Administration is working on some guidance or some regulation. Possibly, we need some clarification on that, but on banning flavored e-cigarettes from the market. So this would be any flavor, even menthol, besides tobacco.
And what is the regulatory basis for this? Is this just because they're bad for people, or does it particularly have to do with appealing to children, as we're looking now at some stock prices of some tobacco companies that are falling on the news?
So this is specifically because of kids who are using these. The HHS secretary mentioned that they have some results from a youth tobacco survey that the CDC does every year, and that there are 5 million kids vaping, and that was up from the year before. So that's a huge number, and that's something certainly that has concerned the president and the secretary, as well as the FDA.
And as I understand it, as we've been on.
Sorry about that. That video got cut off a little bit short, but that really kind of goes to the heart of what I was talking about here, is that all of the reports that you will see they're not really saying too much about the actual science of what they're finding and what the actual culprit is behind the vapes. Like I said before, I am not anti-cannabis. I'm not anti-anything. I am pro-truth. I am pro-research. And what the main culprit behind this is phony products that are being sold on the black market, because a lot of the regulation, which can be a good thing with the cannabis market, because if it wasn't regulated at all, guess how it would be terrifying to think about how many steps were just passed over, and how many shortcuts people would take just for a pure profit. And unfortunately, that's just the world we live in, where we have to have some sort of regulation. People have to be held in check. And I totally agree with that. There's nothing wrong with that. What I have a problem with is this knee-jerk reaction that is causing harm to the legitimate e-cigarette the e-cigarette companies out there and the entire industry. That's going to take a huge hit on this. They are losing a lot of money over the last few months because of a lot of this faux outrage. Now, if you're not familiar with e-cigarettes, the primary ingredient in e-cigarettes is vegetable glycerin. Okay, and then you have nicotine, you have artificial or natural flavoring. That's it. That's all that's in there. That is it. And if you don't know anything about vegetable glycerin, is that there has been studies done here, and there has been a lot of actual studies on the vaporization of vegetable glycerin. It here says they've done animal and human studies. Long-term inhalation studies show no evidence of toxicity. That's 0.033 milligrams per liter and 0.165 milligrams per liter glycerol in rats. Irritation was seen at 0.662 of continuous glycerol vapor exposure for 6 hours per day. That is continuous, which does not represent a feasible usage situation for humans. There's also a chart here that kind of goes into what is the typical type of concentration levels. 50 puffs a day, I think that would be kind of typical, maybe 50 to 100. Exposure time in minutes is 0.833. That's, not too long. Pretty low volume, and we see here adverse events is none. Of course, we do have inflammation when we get up to the exposure time of 21,000 minutes. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous, right? No one's going to be exposed to e-cigarette or e-liquid for that long. Now there might be some people might say that nicotine's bad for you, but they can say the same thing about caffeine because both are stimulants. I think that the e-cigarettes are getting a really bad name. There has been some stuff that they've had to take out, some additives that they had to take out of certain flavorings, but that happened a long time ago. And I mean, you can't find any actual flavorings that have a lot of these different types of chemicals in them that they used to have. So I'm not saying that they're 100% safe. Don't get me wrong. However, what I'm saying is that there's a lot of things that are going on right now where people are having a knee-jerk reaction to this vaping thing, and they don't know what to look at. They're saying that it's the marijuana, it's the cannabis, and some people saying it's the nicotine. We have to look at the facts, and unfortunately, the facts are pointing directly at dank vapes and a lot of these cheap knockoff things that are happening right now with the distillates and the cannabis concentrates. Excuse me, I had a cough. But like I said, I'm still a little bit sick. But, I just really like I said, I wanted to make a quick video about this. This is something that I've been seeing in the news a lot lately. And this is something that I think really needs to be cleared up because it doesn't really require to go into a long, in-depth type of discussion about this because it's pretty cut and dry as we see it right now. The more information might be coming out as this whole thing unfolds. But as of right now, I believe that we do have a reasonable culprit behind this, and that would be the fungicide that was found in a lot of these cartridges, the vitamin E acetate, which is the cutting agent for the distilled products, and obviously the dank vapes and the chronic. The chronic. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe Chronic Labs or something like that, but they are putting these things out where they're just blank cartridges, empty cartridges, and people are buying these and they're just doing whatever they want to with them. And they're selling them from super cheap and people are buying them, they're getting sick, and now here we are. And people are picking up their pitchforks and going after anybody and everybody now. So it's going to cause a lot of people their jobs, and we're just going to go round and round without even kind of looking at the facts. So as always, I always recommend you to take a look at the facts, do your own research. Don't take my word for anything. Don't take anybody's word for anything. Definitely not the mass media, because half the time they don't know what they're talking about. All they're doing is stirring up a lot of negative sentiment in the place where facts should be. So until next time, this is Joe with Simple Life. SimpleLifeRemedy.org is the website. I will see you later on the next video. Have a great day.